Hello and welcome to the Nearly Show. It's the 19th of March, which is the day when I was supposed to be going for tests to see how the chemo had gone. Well, actually, I went about a week ago when they picked up a problem. And basically, the chemo hasn't worked. I've been on the wrong kind of mixture, I think, for the past 6 months. My cancer is slightly kind of unusual, and they're now doing preparing me for a targeted chemotherapy because spots have appeared on the liver. That's the problem. And this targeted stuff it's either works very well, sometimes it doesn't work much at all. And then they're also talking about immunotherapy, which is the big new thing in cancer, which they're trying to line me up for, possibly. So there was lots of discussions going on. There is a kind of way forward, but I had a second round of the doctor saying, I'm afraid it's not good news. And he meant me. Not you, he meant me. So I've been sort of working through the implications of that. I mean, as much as people talk about the good news, you're aware of what bad news might be. So I've been going up and down, but I don't want to kind of dwell on that. I think the thing I most want to say is that having for the last 6 months been writing very specifically about the whole process of chemo and cancer, I sort of feel like what I want to do really now is because I'm about to get immersed yet again in lots of medical shit, and I really would like to find creative ways to take myself out of that space and write about other things and think about other things, and that's what I'm somehow going to do. Perhaps slightly more privately. I don't know. I've enjoyed putting things out there. It's great to know that some people, whoever they are kind of listening. But maybe it's time to sort of consolidate a bit and look at what I've been producing and try to make something a bit more kind of satisfactory with it. But maybe I could talk about that. I have to wait and see. But that's the update. Cheers. So here's a couple of pieces I've written recently. Memoir for ages. Looking for photos of Hattie for her 65th birthday card, I put my finger on the laptop key and the last 15 years or so passed by backwards in jerky animation. Fragments of days flying, hair lengthening, vanishing, ungraying, unthinning. So many unlocked places and parties, so many roads frantically travelled, beauty spots reversed through, grandchildren reverting to toddlers, to babies, bumps, hopes, desires, nothings. I was interviewing for a community radio show in Sheffield and talked to a teenage goth girl about her tattoos, piercings, purple hair, baggy black deckled t-shirt. I asked her, so do you think you'll always dress the way you do? Yes, of course, this is who I am. I'll never change. I smiled. Then she continued, I mean, maybe when I'm like 25 or something. I was 25 and have never felt such a has-been. As a boy, I came across a box of toy cars which I hadn't played with for ages, spilled them onto the carpet in my room, lay down, breathed in its reassuring, dusty fug and started driving them along the roads in the pattern of the carpet. But that narrative voice of play had grown out of me, like waking from a dream, or, I later noticed, like coming down from a trip. The rich mental density thins out and blows away. The ghost in the machine. Unearthing paper wallets of negatives of photos we took of each other naked for last tangle opens up the strangest feelings, like being a voyeur on my own memories. Especially as I find negatives which Hattie chose not to process at the time, of her looking too beautiful, too happily in love, too caught by the male gaze for a newly signed up member of the women's movement to bear. But male is the only gaze I have. A toxic glare sometimes, but looking in other modes too, appreciatively, openly, tenderly, into the distance, vaguely into space, achingly back into the past. At the Picasso on Paper show just before lockdown with my Californian friend George, who I hadn't seen since we were 12 in 1968. I looked at his face and it morphed from the older man to the soon-to-be older still, to the boy I knew, to the shy teen, stoned hippie, cool dude I missed ever meeting. He was all these faces, and I am mine. Growing older, we are all ages, all times of life, flitting from memory to memory, like children playing, making faces. Well, this is called Timepiece. It takes me more than a year after Mum dies to separate the physical shell of her house from the memories it contained. I'm in the kitchen by the gas cooker, an old model, white enamel door and grime-encrusted pipework around the burners, at odds with the trendy units and hand-painted tiles. Through the hatch to the sitting room, my dad and sister on the sofa watch Steptoe and Son. Mum's poured 2 tins of pillows, her name for Heinz ravioli, into a pan to heat through for a supper by the TV. You really need to clear up your room, honey. It's a tip. Too busy, got homework. If you don't, I'll have to. Mum, don't you dare. Yes, I know you don't want me snooping around down there, and she's right. I'm already thinking about where I hid the cigarettes, Rizzlers, and the foil-wrapped nub of dope which Paul's brother sold me. Okay, I'll sort it. I mean it. She turns towards me crossly, and both of us realise that she's looking up. I'm bigger than you, I say, and we both start to laugh. I'm looking through the hatch at Mum in her 80s, sitting in the armchair where Dad used to sit after his op. She's on the phone to the daughter of an old colleague, sending condolences, puts the phone down and, to my amazement, says, "It's such a shame that so many good friends are dying these days, because apart from that, I'm enjoying old age." She has freedom to be safely independent now, in a pocket of time after what's recognised as a happy marriage, in the house where her kids played, rowed as adolescents, found uneasy but permissive spaces in which to become separate selves. My parents are away. Fragile by Yes plays on the boot stereo. Nick, drunk on old liqueurs found at the back of a cupboard, has just thrown up, thankfully on the kitchen line-out, not the sitting room carpet. Once I've mopped up Nick and the floor, bundled him out and up the road towards the tube, my girlfriend and I revert to snogging, her on my lap in the armchair. She extricates herself to straddle me, lifts her t-shirt over her head, and in one ground-shifting moment unhooks her bra. I reach down to that armchair to hug Mum for the last time after calling round on my scooter, this paunchy middle-aged son saying, "Love you," in the same sing-song voice I used to tell the kids. 2 days later, I get a call from the carer who's found her in bed. Radio 4 still playing, Guardian crosswords slipped through her fingers. For the memorial, I pore over a box of jumbled photos, take home snapshots from different eras, blow them up on the computer, making a collage of images from her gawky youth, uptight teens, uniformed 20s, stylish 30s, nervy but affirming married life, through to garrulous grannyhood. I thought I'd feel grown up at some point in my life, but I still feel no more than 21 inside, she says one night at a meal out with her husband and kids. Mum's in her 60s, and I'm too young to know she speaks true. So sad news that the Nick mentioned in that passed away this week of long COVID. Somebody who's been a big figure in my life ever since I met him at school. So, I'll miss him. We talked all night long, can't remember why. What we said went wrong, we were far too high. Acid in our blood, things look very wild. Saw the dawn arise, saw the inner child. boy with long hair hanging down his face, playing a guitar. Ours was no disgrace. Yes, we said to life, love and drugs and sound, strugglesome with strife, underground abounds, dancing on the roof, lying on the floor, eyes locked onto hers, promising far more. On the astral plane, but not actually, me and my mate Nick egg up hungrily. Coming down at last, except now or then, over breakfast we feel the wind again. And you and I go down to the high street, up to the cosmos, round to the Starfleet, out of tiny minds into the far out, off to the big wide round, roundabout. Out of tiny minds into the far out, off to the big wide round.